Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today, very special for me. I'm very nervous, so I hope you deal with that fact. Coach Ward has joined OkState Daily for the first time. Tom Holliday's in the background. I'm a little starstruck, so thank you so much for joining.
Well, you've got us overrated. When people get too much of that, we just say, players have the ability to overcome their coaching, so don't give us too much credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's back all the way up, 1977. First of all, you grew up in small-town Oklahoma. You cut your teeth at Collinsville at the high school level. You paid your dues. You did all that. So talk about how that small-town, maybe grit mentality helped you here at Oklahoma State.
Oh, it's remarkable. When you're raised farm and ranch in Oklahoma, I was born in 40. I'm 85 years old today. I still remember two things from my farm life that carried me over every time I went out and took a risk and went to a job or college or moved to Arizona or went to New Mexico State. I really knew that I could do the hard work without complaining. That's really an important factor.
Absolutely.
Farm life teaches you that because you got to walk through manure and bad weather and ice in the cow's tail and cucumbers in the summertime, and you're dealing with snakes and critters and animals. And we had a bunch of, we raised 500 chickens, we had about 80 cattle, a dozen were Jersey and Guernsey that we milked by hand. Your milking age was about 6 years old. It's time for you to get on the stool and do something. Well, you start by teaching the baby calves how to drink out of a bucket. So I would be out there sticking my fingers up their mouth and pushing their head in the milk. And we were a horse family. We had a lot of work horses. We had a bunch of acreage and had the Deacon Nig, the two old last ones I remember, and a couple of 2 or 3 saddle ponies. You could ride out to get the cattle, or you could move them from grassland to grassland. We lived in western Ramona, where my grandfather and great-grandfather and 2 uncles also lived. So the Ward clan moved from Blue Jacket, Oklahoma, where they were running a Indian trading post about statehood, came over there because there was an oil boom, and Sinclair had put a refinery out there in that area, and they went over right next to the refinery, and the 5 relationship of family bought about 400 or 500 acres. And they each had their own farms. Well, Sinclair came in there with a refinery, so they had to build about 4 miles, probably about 15 square miles of dikes for these 500,000 oil tanks, big white tanks. We used to call them tank farms.
Yeah.
They're everywhere in Oklahoma back in the 40s and 50s. So that kind of background, and my job started pretty early in the day. Basically, I was a chicken guy. I had to clean out the chicken house and wheelbarrow it about 300 yards out to the oat field and spread it out. And with 500 chickens, we always had chicken to eat, and there was always plenty of other residue there to do. It repeated itself. About the time you got it cleaned out, started again. I gathered the eggs, washed the eggs, put them in a bucket. So our cash money, as Pop would say, our cash money was selling cream and eggs to Walter's grocery store in Ramona. And so it was originally an old house, a 2-room shotgun shack that Pops traded 2 cows for, and moved over there when the year I was born in 1940, put it on sandstone blocks, and I was the 4th child, so there were 6 of us sleeping in that same area. Eventually built it room by room by room, new roof, expansion. We actually had a farm home by the time I left for college.
Nice.
But if you spend that time in that situation, the second thing, I had a wonderful mother, very spiritual, loved music. I think she really helped me not judge other people. It wasn't in those terms, but I never heard her ever judge another person. And when I did, she would say, "You shouldn't do that, Gary. You don't have any idea what those people are going through or what they have to deal with in order to have the life they have. So don't talk bad about anybody." So she taught me to love things without judgment and without worry about that love being returned. And I look back as I'd go through college and life would get really difficult and the struggles for Kathy and I was married. I was playing basketball and baseball. The scholarship was the only way I could go to school. So I'd get up in the morning and take care of business, go to class, spend the rest of the time in the library, come home and have lunch, which was typically Campbell's chicken noodle soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. I think I had that 400 or 500 times.
Ramen noodles, maybe?
No,
okay.
It was way out of our class.
Okay.
We didn't know about ramen. We didn't know about ramen. That came along a little later. So, given the fact that, and she babysat some at home in the afternoon. We're in married student housing, both at NEO. I started at Phelps for a year because Dr. Record was really a good coach, and I had a friend there that got me a tryout, and they said, this guy might be able to play a little bit. And then the basketball coach was a clunker, and I knew I had to get away from there to salvage my career, so I go to NEO. My brother had gone to NEO, A&M Junior College, and signed with the Cardinals out there. So I'm 3 years later, I called I said, oh yeah, we'd be thrilled to. Anything like Don? I said, no, he's a lot better than I was. But we went over there. Kathy babysat for him and ironed shirts for the baseball coach. I cleaned the girls' dorm and worked in the bookstore and in the women's dormitory as a janitor. Unique experience. We will not want to talk about any of that. And so I read my Dr. Record at Phillips was a really big influence on me. He was an intelligent, well-educated guy. I loved the game of baseball. And I caught and played for him as a freshman. And he took me through that thing pretty well. I hit in a 5-hole, had a good year. But the basketball thing was going to kill my career. So we go to NEO. Now I run into the basketball coach, Max Buzzard. Second great mentor, Dr. Record, Max Buzzard. He really understood both Kathy and I well. And I didn't have any money from basketball until we started scrimmaging. We went over and played Joplin one day, and I scored a pretty high number. We come back, he comes out of the car, he said, I'm going to put you on scholarship. I could have absolutely hugged him at that moment because we were just scraping by. To be able to get a tuition scholarship and a board, get a meal ticket.
Yeah, right.
And then I could go eat meals all day long and steal crackers and take them home to her or whatever I needed to. Stick in my coat pocket. And so we survived through that, and those hardships. Adversity is the greatest teacher in the world.
Oh, sure.
And farm life teaches you that. And also the fourth child in the family. So at age 12, I realized in that birth order, I had 2 older sisters and an older brother, and I had no power at all.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. So if you look through these birth charts and read them, and I do all this research, I've read thousands of books. I love to read. I love to go to the library. Still do. Been doing it all my life. That child is normally ornery and acts out to get attention. 12 years old. Yeah. If it's, it's like it's shooting at the chimney on your house, you just, try it maybe. Even though Dad told me not to. But you become a risk taker. And you become a goal setter because you don't want what you have.
Sure.
And I read them. They brought Ramona had a pretty good library. They bought a set of American heroes from Betsy Ross to Abe Lincoln to about every president, about every Western guy, Kit Carson, etc.
Yeah.
I took one home every night and read the entire book for about 2 months. And pretty soon in Ramona Library, there's nothing else you can read except books from the 1500s for the Greeks. So I started, radio came. We actually didn't have electricity until I was 8.
Wow.
We didn't have first television at 12. We didn't have running water until I was going to college.
Oh, wow.
My first shower was in college.
Wow.
So, but I had a great family. With love and respect. Mom was very Christian. Pops was a cowboy, so I got both sides of that life.
Yeah.
Be a man and be kind.
Yeah.
And I just think I was so blessed to be there. And I knew one thing at 12. I wasn't going to farm. And I wasn't going to be poor. So adversity creates a sense of urgency.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times I've taught that in 60 years of coaching. If you don't create adversity, you don't get change. You don't get ownership. The player relies on you to do all the stuff for him and shove the balls on the field and go at it, baby. I wasn't a cheerleader. I recognized, I think, in my first coaching job, after being a point guard and a catcher at New Mexico State and having a nice career, the third mentor, Presley Askew, was a former IBA disciple, coached at Arkansas in the late 40s, was raised in Red Oak, Oklahoma. I played IBA basketball as a point guard. The respect I had for him was that of a father. So I had three men who recognized in me things that I probably didn't recognize, who got me to quit being ornery and quit being insecure and acting out and being too competitive. And they brought my game down and made it smooth with flow, where I began to see the game easily.
Yeah.
So I remember coming into Brigham Young one year. New Mexico traveled a lot because they didn't have enough budget, so they sold their games like we do today.
Yeah, right.
And Coach takes us to the game the night before. The night before, we'd been at University of Colorado, and I'd had a 20-point game and played my first really good game for them. Go to BYU, and we're sitting in the stands, and I'm sitting near him, and he says, "Gary," big crowd, huge, old stadium, storied place, and they really had a great ball club. And he says, "You get the big eye? Don't get the big eye." I didn't have any idea what the hell he's talking about. So the game was over, and then he comes to me the next day when we're dressing, getting ready to go on the floor. I said, "Coach, what are you talking about big eye?" He said, "Well, some players, when they see something that out of their realm, where they've never been before, it scares them. They think it's too big for them." I know, I dreamed about this since I was 10, 12 years old. Every time I shot a bucket, and they were buckets, they weren't nets and goals, they were buckets in the barn rafters. Every time I shot a bucket with that undersized basketball, I thought about making the winning shot somewhere for somebody someday. At the time, it was the St. Louis Hawks, because that was the first pro team that ever got recognition in our area with the television. Bob Pettit, Slater Martin. Don't forget those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I met Pettit later at LSU.
Nice.
Yeah. And was just a kind kid. I got to meet you, Mr. Pettit. Humility comes with it. You're ego-free. You're maybe the most fierce competitor, warrior that you get in your own way.
Sure.
You have this sense of urgency, and therefore each of those coaches taught me how to play and act with more class and more intelligence and more poise, and the game became clearer and clearer and easier to play. And I know in that BYU game late, we had them down 3. They stripped me of the ball at midcourt, went down and got it in the bucket with about 15 seconds left, and I took it down the floor and took it the distance for the layup to win. Now, Coach wouldn't have ever liked that, because he wanted the big guys inside to get the ball, and I can still hear him yelling, no, boom.
Yes.
Yes, and we walked off meeting BYU. So we lost in overtime to Colorado, then we go to Idaho State and win, go to Montana State and win, and the cohesion of that group, we had 3 black kids, and nobody had 3 black kids at that time.
Right.
Ball club. This is 1962. 6'7", 6'9", 6'3". I roomed with Vincent Knight, who played with Hartman up at Coffeyville.
Oh, yeah.
Junior college. And I'm a Golden Norseman, he's a Red Raven.
Yeah.
So we played one-on-one every day, before practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he beat me most of the time because he could really play. And I think we all had a chance to play a little bit of pro ball. Billy Joe didn't want to. He's academic, the 6'9" guy. That was the year the ABA came alive.
Mm-hmm.
For the year I was a junior, ABA came alive. Senior comes, looks like, because Knight's going to get drafted. I got a chance, maybe, just a chance for, 6'2", 180-pound white guy, go play pro ball.
Yeah, right.
The league folded. People don't remember.
Yeah.
Folded completely, and then when I got assistant of the freshman coach, it came back too late.
Yeah.
Came back with Julius Serving in the red, white, and blue basketball in the ABA league. So I don't know if I could have played, but sometimes in that journey, being married stripped me of the opportunity. We played, Jim King was a tosser. You go back that far, tosser playing with Clarence, great player, played with, I covered him and scored 26 against him.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, I'd love to go to TU.
Yeah, right.
And so Coach called him, and when he said he's married, we don't want to marry a player.
Oh, really?
That's correct.
Oh, wow.
Baseball coach at Oklahoma State called. They said, I want to take him because I made it to some All-American team as a baseball player. We went to Grand Junction, played for the national championship. I get in a car and drive to Stroud, where I'm supposed to play summer ball, that he's got me the assignment. And they don't, so we replaced you with some guy from OU. So I go drive to Stillwater, tears in my eyes, call Toby Green, and he's under the weather. And he doesn't know who I am. And finally he said, oh, you're the married guy. We don't take married guys. So my dreams were crushed. But having gone through enough failure, adversity, all it does, I got a job at the Shell Oil and went to work on oil rigs and pipeline.
I did not know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Over in the Osage. What the sugars didn't need off. I lost weight. I weighed about 160 pounds at the end of the summer. But I had signed with Gordon Morgan at Tulsa University to play baseball for him because I had pitched against him, hit a couple homers against him at Newbach. We played Tulsa in those days. And Gordon, I really liked him. Kathy and I had already gone to Tulsa, got us a garage apartment in South Tulsa.
Yeah.
One of his, we'd never lived in a place quite that nice.
Oh, yeah.
Not even close. And then August 8th, I'm working my last week for Shell. I get this call from Mr. D. Boys. Gary, this is President Askew. I've got a recommendation from Gerald Stockton at Murray State that you're the best guard in basketball and I need a point guard. Well, I'm not a point guard, I was a shooting guard. But I didn't, first question I asked you, do you take married players?
Yeah.
He said, oh yeah, we got married students now.
There you go.
And he said, well, I have a question to ask you. We have 3 black players. Is that a problem? I said, no, I want that. You're just giving me 2 things I want. I want to go to the Southwest to play Arizona and Arizona State baseball.
Yeah.
That's my second year. Do you play them? Yes, we do. Well, I didn't know we were that far behind them.
Yeah, right.
We did play them. And so Kathy and I got in a 51 Ford. We take off, get my check at Shell. That's 2 days later. He said, I want you out here right away. I said, why? He said, we opened the season with the University of Mexico football, and you guys have to work the stadium. Well, he just wanted to make sure I was coming.
Sure.
So I got my 51 Ford, and 4 o'clock after I got my check and got off from Shell over by Barnesdall, Talbot, we drive to Amarillo, and thank God the 51 Ford had made it. We got everything we owned in the thing. Find an old ratty motel for $6. Get up the next morning, stop at the Texaco station, fill it up with gas, and get a map to find out where in the hell Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Ah, awesome. Awesome.
I'd never been west of Oklahoma City.
Long ways from where you're at.
Yeah, never been west of Oklahoma City. So we're disappointed that it's almost at Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's another 330 miles.
Oh, yeah.
But we went on down there, and as you go across White Sands,
oh yeah,
for an Okie,
done it many times, yeah,
and the Oregon Mountains,
oh yeah,
and come across the Oregon Sea, about 40 miles of total desert,
yep,
brown moonscape.
What have I got myself into?
My wife just went stone silent.
Yeah.
We pull into the city. It's Saturday. There's a Tortugas local Indian parade on Main Street. We run into that right away. We don't know what's going on. Everybody looks pretty foreign.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And different feathers and all kinds
of
stuff. So I finally stopped and asked the filling station. That's where you stopped in those days. They knew everything. They were your GPS. Found the back streets on Solano to go to the university. Called Coach. Met him at a Texaco station. And out steps this bald-headed, big old bushy eyebrow guy with this deep voice. And from that point on, the world started changing.
Yeah.
Everything felt better. And he took Kathy and I and got us a meal over at the cafeteria.
Wow.
Got us married student housing. A kind, gentle guy with blooming boys. I didn't know he was such a terror on the basketball court.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, was he a tough cat. So that's kind of what we went through, and I think that journey started when I was 12. The sense of urgency that I had no power in the family. I lost a classmate when in the 5th grade. Betty Gray died of tetanus because the family would not take her to a doctor. They were not Mennonite, but something like that. And I don't know why, it just made me understand that I'm going to be responsible. Nobody's going to make decisions up here. Love you, Mom and Pops, but you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
The independence that came for a 12-year-old, I can't imagine that today.
Yeah, right.
But that sense of urgency brought that, and from that point, I'm in the backyard. I go get a bucket of gravel from the road. If they gravel or dirt road, it's really good to get 2 buckets.
Yeah, right.
And I cut a couple of 1x2-inch boards, old morp boards, into baseball bats, and I throw rocks up and hit them, and do the play-by-play. I had my own imaginary field, and the Cardinals would kick the Dodgers' ass every night.
Were you Jack Buck or Harry Carey?
I was Harry. Yeah,
Oh, okay. You were Harry Carey. Okay,
way
yeah.
before Jack.
Okay, yeah.
Gus was his partner in 1946,
Yeah.
47. Old
Yeah.
Gus, and then I don't even remember who came along with that. But yeah, Harry became my voice. We got electricity. We plugged the radio in. Pops conceded after me begging for months to be able to put the radio in the barn. So
Yep.
not bother the damn cows. Okay, son, you can do that.
Life is good.
So I think growth began. I think I was. They put me in school when I was 5. Way behind everybody.
Yeah.
When I got to the 7th grade, I weighed about 95 pounds. Leading scorer on the 100-pound team.
Yeah.
But there were guys in my class, big old farm kids,
Yeah.
that had been retained a year. We used to do that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who were shaving.
Yeah.
And you talk about being overmatched. I just sat quietly and didn't bother anybody. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a rough environment.
Yeah, no
Kids coming
doubt.
off farm deal. I mean, it all smells like the barn, the cow manure, and we had an agricultural class early in the morning. The poor teacher, I forget, would physically have to fight off a kid every now and then. 60 some of us in there.
Yeah, right.
And even within that, so if I stay silent and wait patiently, I'll pass these people and everything, academically, athletically. Don't worry about it, because these people are not going to get better. They don't have any idea. They don't dedicate to town. So I hung rubber balls from trees. I broke a lot of boards on the smokehouse, throwing the ball against it. Cost 19 cents for rubber ball compresses. And I could afford that occasionally because I negotiated poorly with my father for a 1 cent a row hoeing corn. When I realized the next day that I had done about 5 rows, they're about 100 yards long, in the afternoon, 4 or 5 hours, that's 5 cents. Well, that wasn't quite a waste. I mean, you could buy baseball cards.
Yeah, right.
And I still have a collection of baseball cards.
Yeah.
About 1,700 of them, all from 1948 to 52.
Wow.
I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it. In fact, I got the first Jackie Robinson. So I've got every young black player or diverse player, Camelio Ramos and Pedro.
Yeah.
Camelio Pascual and Pedro Ramos were the first 2 Latins to come to Minnesota. And so that capture of history is really neat for me.
Yeah.
And I'll still sit down and go through those occasionally, bring back a lot of memories. And I don't know if I was. I know my dad. I got to tell you this because it has a lot to do with my life story. They had this 500 acres. They had an Uncle Butch, and he was the 4th kid, about like me, Henry, getting into crap all the time, in trouble. And he and his friends, 4 or 5 friends, got hooched on White Lightning and went over and robbed the bank horseback at Pawhuska.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they got by with it for 2 or 3 months, and then somehow they tracked him down, and here come, it would look like Prohibition days. Here come, Dad describes this because he's 11 years old.
Yeah.
Here comes the old Ford Model A's in 3s coming across the railroad tracks and at the north part of the 500-acre farm.
Oh,
was
wow.
Grandpa's house, and Butch was my uncle's name, of all things. Butch ran to the barn, and they had to shoot him out of the barn. Well, he goes up in the trial, and they convict him, and the bail was put up by the Ward family, the 120 acres of prime, 40, George was 160 acres of the prime farmland. They put up bail, he jumped bail, went to Mexico,
Wow.
never come back, had 5 kids and lived down there with the Mexicans. if he came back, which he did, he came back unknowingly to visit Uncle Butch. So what happened? They went from affluent to just flat on their face. It's a social thing as well.
Yeah, right.
Where you ostracized by people around you.
Right.
GD, SOB, wards, bunch of damn thieves. You know, you get me to my Morona talk, I could describe it better off camera.
Sure. Yeah.
Because at 12, 14, we worked a ton of cattle. Dad was a vet type of guy. He had dropped out of school at 5 in the 5th grade and went to school again. Had enough trouble, you know, reading and writing. Kind of learned to do that on his own. And he was able to, he never relayed any of this to me until I was coaching at Oklahoma State.
Sure.
I mean, this is painful and heartfelt. I just sat in awe and listened to what he was telling me. Talked about his uncles and grandparents and his memories of early childhood, where he up until 5th grade, he rode his horse to school, like that.
Wow.
Got on my grandmother's side, Grandmother Rose, on Dad's mother. My dad's mother was full-blood Dutch and came over on the boat pre-Hitler. She had some stories to tell.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And so all of that, you know, it's just a cascade
of things.
And at that particular point in time, I'm born in 40, that's right after the financial crisis in 29. And we're dealing with a total devastation of our economy. And just beginning World War II. Pops worked for, during that time, handled all the animals, and we lived self-sustaining stuff, gardens and canning food and all that stuff. But he was able to handle himself enough to get a job for $1 a day.
Wow.
And driving a dump truck for gravel and roads for county. And he'd tell me, you gotta be kidding. I think when I was 14, I was working 50 cents an hour at age 14 for my Uncle Wayne in his garage. So that wasn't something you lived through, it's something you survived.
Sure.
This is not something you chose, this is something you had to deal with every day. Nothing can happen. You had to help a first-year heifer give birth that's breached. And you're there at 1 o'clock in the morning because your older brother's gone and you're 12 years old, sitting in the blood and afterbirth. Pulling on a leg with a rope while he takes a hacksaw blade, enters her, and has to cut the leg off in order to get the dead calf out. Now you saw two things there, and it may cover the whole story, and we can go on. Not only did he save the heifer, because he took the baby was dead, obviously. He took that heifer, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he developed a burlap system to raise her up, and underneath her belly where she's paralyzed, her backside was paralyzed, and gave her a penicillin shot and massaged this young heifer through her backside until about 4 o'clock, and I'd already gone in the house. He said, go in the back porch and clean yourself off as much as you can and go to bed because we're going to come back out. So, story shortens, every day he was out there taking care of them. Well, when I was in college later, I happened to think about this. We maybe didn't talk about it. He was saying he didn't talk about it. But I think I was in college later. I was in Collinsville. I came back to help. I'd go up there and help him with projects and move cattle and dig water lines and do whatever he needed me to do. Because, as he said, you do know how to work, don't you? I said, yep, I do, Pops. And I've always loved to be with you working. I don't care what it is. It can't be tough enough to not enjoy the day. And we had really a good rapport. I said, oh, by the way, what about that heifer? We walk out into the field, about 100 yards away. We're sitting on this porch under a tree chewing some red man, obviously. Not only was I bilingual in English and profanity, I also learned how to chew tobacco.
Absolutely.
A little bit until I got sick a couple of times. We walk out of the pasture and he walks up to the cow, named Mabel or something. Said, there she is right there. We've had 13 years of good calf out of every one of them. You think it's worth the night you spent down there growing up? Kind of hard on me. I said, no. I went over and got the old heifer was, been milked for 13 years. walked over and patted her on the butt. I said, "Good job, Mabel." So when I was a little kid doing that milk bucket stuff, I named all the baby calves.
Yeah.
That was my job. So I named them after the farmers' wives in the Mabel. They're all Dorothy, Catherine, Mabel, Phyllis.
Absolutely, sure.
Oh God! And he'd keep about 8 or 10 of them. Obviously, we'd work all the male calves and feed them out and sell them.
Mm-hmm.
All the female calves became milkers, and so most of them would leave me by the time a year or two old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the last time I did it, I said, "I'm not going to cry again when you sell my calves." He sold 8 of them for $100 a piece, cash.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the most money I'd ever seen in the world, man.
It probably was.
So anyway, I was blessed with these 3 great mentors. Dr. Record, Max Buzzard, Presley Askew. I cannot ever tell you the quality of meaning they gave to my life and how much they cared about Kathy and I. And I would have jumped through hoops on fire for any one of those 3 men. And I found this. I've got another 200 mentors in my life, because every time I met a guy that I thought was more experienced than I was, or I saw something in them that I didn't know, if you're humble, remove your ego, and just say, "Please, I need you to help me," then Ben Hines, hitting coach of the Dodgers, or Red Adams, the coach at LA, or Bobby Winkles, the head coach at Arizona State, who later managed the Angels. I made a list for my children the other day. It took me about 5 hours of audio tape, because I wanted my kids to know this story, this exact story. So when it's done, I want a copy of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this goes right to my children.
100%.
And then way down the road, when I got greats out there, they've got something that reminds me who the ornery old guy was. I wasn't just an ornery old farm kid. I actually progressed a little bit in my life.
Yeah.
And took advantage of opportunities. So those mentors were major league people. I'd go, and then as a coach, I was a basketball guy. We'd gotten the Suns up to Yavapai for preseason training. I got to meet Colangelo and Van Arsdale and Connie Hawkins and all those people. And the guests that came in, Dick Snyder from Portland, he had Jerry West coming, but he bailed on us. I had free tickets to go down to Phoenix, 90 miles away, and watch basketball. Jim Skillingsworth, who coached here, came out there and worked with John McLeod, who became the next coach of the deal. You get a working relationship with Alvin Adams. You do clinics for them.
Alvin Adams.
Yep, met Alvin.
He was on that team in the late 70s with Steve McIntyre and Jim Woolworth and those guys. Yeah, Putnam City.
Like a deer. Gorgeous athlete.
Oh, yeah.
So at Collinsville, I think with that attitude, I coached football for the first time, and I'd only been around football in college. My 5th year, when I was coaching a freshman, I was the flag football quarterback for an intramural team, and we went 13-0.
Yeah.
We beat the Frats. Probably more fun I'd ever had anything I'd ever done was playing football. So I come out, and I remember Hal Wilson, the superintendent. I wanted to come home. I'd made all the risks and taken all the moves, and I loved the Southwest. The coach came to me and asked me to coach a freshman, and then later told me, because we'd beaten Moab's freshman team at UTEP that year. It was only 4 years before Haskins won it all. And I did some scouting for them as a young guy. They called Presley, "You got a guy can go scout to UTEP." And I got to know him really well. And a couple of those contacts said, "This kid's going to be a pretty good coach." He said, "He's going to be," what did he tell me, "special, I think." I said, "Nah, I'm not sure I want to coach. That means I got to teach. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, first I wanted to be a preacher, then a journalist, a sports cartoonist." "I have no idea, Coach. I've got a degree and I got to get a job, so I've got to go coach." All right. I got a major in English, psychology, and biology, because I took 19 hours every semester.
Yeah.
I talk about. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking 19 hours every semester. They're all free. After 12, they're all free.
Absolutely.
I didn't have to pay for any of them." So I ended up with, 148 hours of undergraduate work. But there were classes I loved. Anyway, he was kind enough to to check for me, and there was a brand new school in Denver. I didn't want to go to Denver. I had been away from my people pretty much for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to take my bride home, and we're going to go home. It's going to be somewhere in the Tulsa area. And Collinsville popped open, and my brother was coaching at a small school up in the, and he said, I'll go with you. Just go find out who the school board is, and we'll go see them. And he got me the job. We sat there in a guy's named Chilton. We sat there in his yard and talked for 2 hours, and the superintendent called me the next day, and I put my only suit coat on, went down there and got hired for $4,800 a year.
Nice.
In Collinsville. And it was great again because Hal Wilson was a 63-year-old superintendent, been in the school system all his life, an old grouchy hard.
Oh, yeah.
But a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And another mentor who wouldn't call you over and beat you. He would call you over and counsel you.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Here you go. You don't need to find a torn suit and bring it to me and tell me you need suits. Just tell me you need suits. Stuff like that where you're trying to manipulate the system like I had always tried to do as a 12-year-old needing some power. And another guy taught me, remove your ego, tell us what we need, put it on a board, make a presentation, and you'll get that much sooner. So the trip, I think, prepared me to go to Yavapai, and a guy that we'd shared basketball duties with Dave Brown. We were the two guards at New Mexico State, and I was at his best man at his wedding. He calls me, and I go to Yavapai, and I go, yeah, gorgeous place, Prescott, Arizona.
Of course.
And I told my wife, and I thought she was going to jump off a bridge because I was dragging her by her hair, 1,000 miles. And when we get to Prescott, it's ultra liberal. It's no bra, pot smoking on the streets. I mean, it's Hippieville. It's 180 degrees from anything she and I had known.
Oh, yeah.
But it paid like $9,800. And it was a chance to build the program on my own. And I'll be David's assistant basketball coach, and I got my own baseball program. Now it's 5,000 feet high, and they have no baseball field. But the college was still being built. And again, you have to overlook reality and project with your mind and imagination what it could be. And I saw greatness there as I did it myself, and I did it in each job I took. And I took this job here from Yavapai. I go, I might have made a mistake because they don't have anything going on here. And then I thought, I said, I did it there. It's probably more fun to build it.
Yeah.
So go meet every booster, go meet the private sector, don't be afraid to ask for money, go meet the Board of Regents, develop a political private structure, and drive it downward. Reagan's theory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let the economy trickle down to people that have no choice. It's exactly what I did at Yavapai. My board of boosters elected Board of Regents, the last 3 before I left there. The president's asking me who should run.
Yeah.
And I'm in denial. I never admitted to it. When I came here, I met those people in Yukon and in Hominy. I can't remember all 5 of them. Eddie Keller, I played basketball against in high school, the banker. I met 4 of them. I said, I want you to know who I am. If you give me an hour, I'm going to tell you with passion what my life's been about and what I'm going to do at that institution. I'm right where I wanted to be all my life, and it's going to be my last job. And it's going to play for a national championship. I know you were 16 or 28 last year. I know you have no facility. But all those things will happen because I know how to make them happen. And they did. And the private sector drove it because we were poor. We had no budget. The last game Barry Sanders played, 32,000 showed up.
Yeah, right. I was there.
20,000. You weren't there. That's my budget. They're saying, why are you so pissed off?
Yeah.
That's my budget didn't show up.
Yeah.
So Holiday says to me, what do you do? I said, I've got to raise money to pay your salary. I am going to let you start running a lot more practices. My ass is going to be on the road, and I'm going to go ask every guy, Sooner, Cowboy, toss a Hurricane. If they're benevolent, they're benevolent. I'm going to go to country clubs and play golf classics, and I'll raise the money. Well, fortunately, another guy comes along, because by then I had developed a lot of mentors, probably all those guys in the West, 8 or 10, 12, 15 people that I had humbly asked for their help, and they gave it to me. And I wasn't afraid of getting the same thing here from people more powerful than I. Make sure before you ask the question that they have the capability. Never embarrass them, so do your research. I had no question we'd get it done. And Dick Young comes along. That was a major gift because he was a baseball coach at Bowling Green.
Yeah.
He was brought in here to get General Equerry's deal, and he thought everybody would hate him, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I didn't. He called me. I had dinner with him one night with his wife, and he asked me, and I gave him the same hour. I mean, an hour of my goals, my plans, my wishes, my dreams, what I see. And I said, I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. How fast do you think you can do that? I said, it'll be 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But it'll get there eventually. Well, about 2 years later, here comes the plans for the stadium, along with the renovation of the bay.
Yeah.
Somebody gives me credit for that. They still do all the time. Dick Young was the mover.
Okay.
He was the guy that really triggered it.
I never knew that story.
Nobody did.
No.
I've been telling everybody how good Ward built Reynolds Stadium. Well, I did raise 600,000 of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I did make the hard ask.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And then I worked with the architects every day. I took them to Texas A&M with a flight to watch how that was built there because they had the second best, maybe the best baseball stadium in America.
Is it the one they still have?
Yes.
It's a big one.
Double balcony. Awesome. Right next to Cal Field. And they built that and sold it out in 45 minutes because they had 1,900 Boone Pickens people.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And we had one.
Yeah.
So when you recognize who you are, all I felt when I came here is everybody had a lack. We just don't have a lack. We're poor Aggie.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah.
What we have is 81,000 people. We got land and oil and cattle.
Yeah.
You're going for the wrong people.
Let's go find it.
Yeah, but Wilkerson controls Oklahoma City Oil.
Yeah.
Go to the farm people.
Yeah.
And think long term about being able. Iowa leads the nation, or did at one time, in benevolence and in their foundation. Highest level of dollars in a foundation was the University of Iowa, because farm people were taught.
Yes.
Graduate here, 50 years later, nobody's there to inherit the farm.
Yeah. Right.
It's like our deal here. Our highest raised sport for NIL would be what?
Right now?
Equestrian.
Football. Oh, equestrian. Okay.
Seven highest donors for NIL are equestrian.
Really?
That's Oklahoma.
Okay.
We're a horse country. We got more horses per capita in the country.
Wow.
More surface water than Minnesota.
Yeah.
People don't have any idea
how
rural we are. We do have a second language here.
Yeah, sure.
We say yo, hell, we won't fix it to go over yonder. I understand. I can still talk that.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and I do occasionally just for the fun of it. I can't remember the guy's name. He had an afternoon radio program. I'll think about it. But he had a program in Tulsa for a long time, and I always got the biggest kick out of him. But rushing ahead, I think I would have coached forever. The back, I'd had pain, I had problems, I had surgeries. I couldn't ride buses. I couldn't. My 1996 College World Series deal, I was so bad and on medication.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to get hooked on it. I couldn't go to practice one day at our World Series. I barely made it through the opening ceremonies. And it had been up and down like I'd been coaching with a TENS unit on my back to break the pain for 5 years.
Yeah.
My wife was starting to drive me around, and the key was down in, we're going to Dallas one year, and she's driving me down in the caddy, and the back was really bothering me, and I went to sleep in the caddy, and I couldn't hardly get up. And the next day I'd get up to go to the ballpark. We're at the motel, and the bus brought the whole play. And I still remember, I'm putting everything on. Pain is excruciating. I'm taking my pain pills, and I got my uniform on and buckled up. I'm going to go make the bus. I'm going to go to the ballpark, and I collapsed at the door. Pain just passed out in pain. Stubborn, stupid. Yeah, but take an aspirin to it. I'd been doing that for 3 years or so. And I'm telling you to come home and talk to Terry Dunn. I had to come back. She had to drive me back to Tulsa in the back of the car, and I had to take an epidural.
Wow.
And the blood spurted all over the place, and I could have kissed that guy because I had been in about 5 hours of excruciating pain. And I think that convinced this stubborn Irish mind that somewhere along the line you're going to have to do something different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I can tell you about my situation here that I can't tell you on camera.
Sure.
It impacts a lot of other people. But let's say I had been the lead dog at this train, and there's no way when I was gone that there was another dog who could take that over and do it without which is what happened. Because nobody's capable, because they've not gone through it. They don't have the answers. They think they do, but they don't. So people come in and they take all the outfield fence sign, they quit going out and talking to the advertisers, they quit going out and meeting the public and asking for money. We were raising $250,000 a year. And I was selling videotapes and
five breaks in the dugout show.
I had probably 1,000 to 1,200 kids come to my camps every year, and I went every one of those sessions.
I was one of them.
And and I paid my coaches, my players. That was my NL program. So we're getting close to game time. They yell at us, I guess. So I rushed through the Yavapai thing, but it was a great learning curve. It taught me how to become a politician. I was not a politician. It taught me, I worked with a guy named Robert B. Good, a radio name. He was the advertising sales guy for television, cable television in Prescott. And I gave my assistant coach a fall job. I'd come at 2:30 every day, but he'd do all the preliminary work we'd do, have him ready. And I'd go with Robert B. And we may have a sip of martini because he was a little bit of an alky. But he knew everybody in Prescott, from the Red Company, the door to the abstract. And for a month and a half, we went through there and developed a booster club. I stapled the brochures at night with Jack Kaplan, who gave me free printing. We developed a booster club that raised about $12,000 in its first run. I put a brochure in every Sunday newspaper in the community to get it out. People laughed at me because when I'd go to service clubs, I've always talked to every service club in my community. That's a freebie.
Yeah.
But these are really wise people that have a history, and they become fans. I had the oldest fan base the first year because I talked to all those guys. I said, I want to see the Kiwanis and the Lions out here.
Yeah.
Come help. My first game, I had 8 people.
Yeah.
And so I've always done service clubs. Every time somebody asks, I go do one. Somebody asked me the other day to do one here somewhere in June. I said, put me on the calendar. If I can do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because I think those are the salt of the earth.
No doubt.
People are inherently benevolent. They're not sinners or cowboys.
Sure.
They're not. They're either benevolent or they're not.
Yeah.
And so go find the people that have the good heart and soul and willing to give something of their success to you, and you will run over more people than you can ever keep track of.
Right.
Because that's that quality of goodness out there. The only thing I always want to do is assist me to hire a gorgeous 55-year-old country club owner.
Yeah.
Because they're the greatest fundraiser in the world.
Yeah.
Preferably somebody in the medical profession who can go through the doctors and go through the doctors.
No doubt.
Because she could dump a barrel before I did. Because they're doing it for all these inner city and Tulsa and Oklahoma City. So at the end of the day, at 56 years old, I aborted a career with 950 wins here or something like that. There was not a trophy in my house. Not a reminder there. When I went home, I was a father.
Wow.
I got 3 wonderful kids now that are 62, 58, and 54.
Yeah.
And they all know their dad's a little bit crazy, but they understand his passion. They understand my vulnerability, because when you're passionate, you're vulnerable. When you're willing to actually tell stories that have meaning to you, that really hurt you, and you got a tear in your eye, there's nothing wrong with that. And my dad wouldn't understand that, because men don't cry.
Yeah.
And we don't, when the cow kicks you in the leg, you go tap an head.
Right.
You just go quietly and wrap something, put a little chewer backer on it, it'll draw it out. My first time, I had jumped off the building. I was a attention-seeking child. I jumped off the barn one day right onto a fork laying on the ground.
Oh, Lord.
That was not a problem. He got down. I said, "What did you do that for?" I said, "I didn't see the fork." "Well, hell, it's 6 foot down. You're 10 years old." "I just checking to see how good an athlete I was, Dad. I didn't see the fork." Well, I had about 3 of those in my young career, and he'd take the chew tobacco out, slap it on there, and wrap it. And I said, "Do you think we should go to Dr. LeBlanc, one of these old farm guys, Oshaleta, nearby, about 5 miles away? We'll look at it. This will draw it out pretty good. If it gets red tomorrow, we'll go get a tetanus shot." That was his answer to it.
When we get to this time of year, I just feel like
Okay.
they still got that.
Betty Gray came to my mind because at sixth grader I was absolutely shattered. I had no relationship with her except
Yeah.
a wink.
Yeah.
When you like
Right.
somebody in
Oh,
the sixth grade, you
absolutely.
go, yeah, that was it. You didn't dare touch anybody.
Yeah.
She's out this religion that, everything she wore was tacky or made out of feed sacks.
Yeah.
Well, with most of our kids were. I wore jeans throughout my.
Yeah,
I
still
wear
do.
jeans every
Yeah,
day.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking good, stylish.
I don't have any slick pants.
Yeah,
The only thing that fits me for the last 2 years has been a pair of jeans.
yeah.
Okay? I went to college at Phillips University with jeans, and everybody there in class had slick pants on.
Yeah.
That was my comment to Pops a week or so later. So, well, you think you need some khakis or something? I said, no, the jeans are going to be fine, Mom.
Yeah.
So, there was 1,000 of these things. I've recorded them. I've got 65 hours of audio tape from my tablets that I got in a website in Texas with Jim Schwanke and Ross Halley. They're going to put that into edition. Basically, it's called Baseball Forward. Baseball Forward is how it's spelled. And they're going to make a large manual and put it on sale nationwide for $39. All the money coming out, anything I make with this website will go to my trust for my children.
Yeah.
And because I don't have any needs. That's the thing about getting old. At the time I resigned, I looked around and I said, I have no needs. I've accomplished everything I've tried. How can I reconnect?
Yeah.
And that was difficult. The loss of this game was difficult. I mean, I drive close enough that year in 77 when I resigned, or 96 is 97 season when I resigned, I would drive 100 miles out of doors out of Dallas to get to a station I can hear to where I can listen to Bill Platt announce the regional games.
Yeah.
UCLA came in there and beat us that year pretty badly.
Troy Gloss.
And my wife said, where are you going to go? I said, I'm just going for dinner. So I did the next night. She said, what are you doing? You going up to the casino? I said, no, but I got to drive up to Gainesville, across the Oklahoma border before I can get a decent enough signal.
One question for me, well, actually kind of a two-part question. Obviously, we hit a lot of home runs here. You were known for the hitting for Oklahoma State. So one, what do you think about all the modern day launch angle stuff that's going on in baseball now today? And in the climate with OSU the way it is in college baseball with a lot more teams and programs investing in college baseball, what would be your advice for Coach Holliday, Josh Holliday nowadays?
Instruction, watch BP every day and you'll see a coach on a platform 36 feet away. Go to every major league stadium, one pitch away. Hitting is about the science of that.
Let me back up so we can get it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We're looking at the guy's hat here because we want to find center focus. We don't want to have a broad center focus. Now, prior to his movement, it's soft, so I can see the outfield flag in the background. But as soon as he moves, you bring your focus to the size of a baseball. You can do it on his hat, you can do it on his shoulder, you can look for the release point. But that focus gives me a better chance to pick the ball up earlier. And I've got about 20 foot of flight, hopefully. It's called information time.
Yes.
All right. That leaves me 40 foot for reading and getting my body started, activating and overcome inertia and reacting. Well, when we test hitters' time to impact, 15 to 20 is what we need. And we put these in what we call centroseconds, 1/100th of a second. So if it's 42 from a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to the catcher, we give him 14 for information time, we give him 14 for writing and decision-making time. This is information on the ball, this is spins and angles and a possible where the arrival is going to be, and the last 14 foot of travel, I've got to be in action and it's got to be automated. It is not a thought process.
Yeah.
If it's automated, I pick up 8 or 10 centroseconds and add it to it. And so I've got to train every hitter into total automation through the power of space repetition. If it takes 1,000 times to get it right, it takes 1,000 times. Problem with kids today, they won't train where it's not really comfortable. We have country clubbed the sport by having travel baseball. Now tell me how many parents in America can afford $8,000 to $10,000 a year from age 8 up to have their child play travel baseball. And it may be cheaper. Just one leg for the summer might be $1,500. But there's a whole bunch of people in the farm. Gary Ward could have never been.
Sure.
Because I spent all my time being Harry Carey and broadcasting the game and playing my own game within myself.
Yeah.
My first organized game in a uniform was age 12. So I'm constantly training this to find center, to pick up the spin, get up more information earlier. So major league people, a lot of them are cross dominant.
Yes.
And they're 15, 20, and a lot of players go get the laser eye surgery to become 15, 20. That start at 20, 20. My job is to work with an eye program. So I dealt with Dr. Bill Harrison and Dr. Craig Farnsworth, and talking to either one of them in 30 years. But they came out with the first visual programs. Harrison sold his for $400 or $500. I called him repeatedly and begged him down to $150, and I bought it. And Bruce Costelli and John Cardinale were the first to train on it.
Wow.
And it has to do with convergence.
Yeah.
And things of that nature, and it was really good for them. Because
way ahead of your time.
Yeah, way ahead of our time. And that's the whole idea that my mentors allowed me to do, was catch up with them. And I didn't tell people this is what Red Changes told me to do, or Pete Rose told me to do.
Yeah.
I listened to it and take it back in my journal, rewrite it, put it into Gary Ward's language, and I own it the next time I walk out.
No doubt.
If you don't, it's not believable. And if you can't teach something, you can't do it.
Right.
So the camps, now think about how many station drills you went through in your camp experience. And if I had 50 days of that during the year, my baseball players had to teach those stations, lead arm soft toss, any kind of drill of any nature, soft toss drills, any swing natures. They would do it. Power jump ropes, developmental stuff, hands in action, wax on, wax off, whatever we want to do for 8 and 9-year-old kids can handle, or 15-year-old kids can handle.
Yeah.
And then it helped our recruiting, because it was like having people visit. Burnett's and Shelton and Simons come out of my camp. And we couldn't afford it. We had a lousy budget in baseball. When I left here, we had a lousy budget. Because Roderick honestly knew that I could raise the money and reduce my budget every year. And the last year I played at Texas Tech, my budget was about $300,000. And I picked up the budgets at the media deal in Texas Tech. Somebody left one out. Texas Tech had a budget of $600,000.
Twice as much.
Twice as much.
Yeah.
And I know OU, Nebraska, and Iowa State had better budgets than I had. Yeah. Because every now and then those guys say, well, Enos wouldn't, but Gene would. Hey, multi-uniform. So
no doubt.
We're just happy to have it an orange top, to go on the road with. We got the black tops for the third uni. We're pretty happy. We were wearing the same pant everywhere. We didn't have grays. You couldn't afford them.
I can see you giving this spiel to all the people in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you got it. You got the passionate, crazed, eyes on fire, hair on fire guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had people look at me that I didn't know that we were introduced to. The first at Yavapai, and I remember in particular this, it was a real estate guy, whatever they call that agent. And he says, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Gary Ward. I'm the new coach at Yavapai. I'm going to build a booster club, and we're going to build a good athletic program as the school is being built. And I go on for this about 10 minutes." And he's just going, And he says, Are you think you're pretty well done? I said, "Yep, that's the spiel."
That's it?
Yeah. And he says, "I don't have any idea what the hell you're talking about. I would give my right arm to be passionate about something again in my life." He's about 50-year-old business. I would give a right arm to have something that would drive me like that's driving you. What do you need? $150 for a one-page ad. Check, bro.
Wow.
Never saw him again.
Yeah.
For years. So, humility, no ego, a plea for help.
Yes.
A passionate cry. It sells.
Yeah, it does.
And it wasn't something I fabricated. It's something that I felt. So each one was spontaneous. I got the guy with the Crockett Smokehouse to come in a booster. He's an old guy from freaking southern Oklahoma that had chewing tobacco spit in a trash can.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
But I took 22 guys in 1982 to St. Louis for the World Series. Small plane armada, guy from Yukon, his wife, Bill, I hadn't met a lot. Obviously the Maces that wanted to go, Tom and Judy, they were the first fans, Carl and Ginger Harris. But Dwight McCormick was running IGA. I found people that I had met in service clubs, basically.
Charlie Fowler.
Yep, Charlie Fowler. The guys that I just said, these are really, really good people. And a lot of them were people that I met at the ballpark where our kids played together.
Kevin wasn't a bad player either, was he? Charlie's boy.
Kevin Fowler's maybe the nicest man I've ever met in my life.
Still lives in Stillwater.
Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, banker. I still go by.
Yep.
I got a couple of stories on that, but that should stay there. I sat with Charlie, his wife, and she had her fingers crossed all the time. God, she was.
He was like you. He drove an old pickup even though he was rich.
Yeah.
Because he wanted people to think he was poor.
Charlie was, man, you talk about a good soul.
Oh my goodness,
talk about a good soul, and there were 22 people. I had to go there and get in a hotel next to Busch Stadium. I had to figure out how to go to executives that were in town for the World Series the day before. Now, I'm telling people I'm going to get the tickets, but I got to go there and find the executives in different areas that got tickets.
You got to figure it out.
And I knew it, but enough people that would give me an opportunity. I knew Bobby Wine, and I'd been to Kansas City, Philadelphia World Series a couple years earlier, and flew. Dr. Jennings flew up, Charlie Kupke, and Tom and I flew up for a couple of
Oklahoma City was Philadelphia's AAA affiliate back then. That was neat.
Yeah. So having a grasp, you don't know how you're going to get it done, and you hope you don't embarrass yourself, but I know you've got 3 or 4 flights coming in with 7 or 8 people for game 1 and 2, and God bless it, we win them. And they go to Milwaukee and they lose 3 in a row. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, I just got these 2 to do. And I go, bingo, I just hit the jackpot. Yeah. So now I'm scouting for people. Anybody that can find a private plane, I'll get them a ticket along with you and Joe and John. So we had, I think, total of 22. And every morning around game 1, 2, 6, and 7, I'm up the next morning having breakfast with about 4 different people, getting to meet them, getting to know them, getting to know their wife and family. They're like good kids at Disneyland. This is the World Series 1982. Yeah. This is a lifetime experience they'll never forget. And I went to that one. It's the last World Series I've gone to. I don't have any desire to ever go back. Yeah, right. Because the Cardinals win. Yeah. Darryl Porter gets an opposite field double down the line. Yeah, Southeast boy. Yeah, and he's the MVP for the tournament.
Was he with Mickey Tettleton there at Southeast?
He's a Midwest City kid.
Okay.
It could be Putman or Midwest City. Okay. I don't know if it's the same school or not. But he had gone through the drug deal and came back and renovated his life and had a great story. And I read everything. I read the book, and he becomes the MVP. And I met him around the cage. That year, the year before, I'd taken a trip to St. Louis. Now, that was the main one. It probably raised me $100,000 to $150,000 over the next 5 or 6 or 7 years. And that's not counting big gifts. Yeah. This is $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 at a time. If I needed a kid to go find a job, I'd call a guy in Yukon. He'd go down and clean his shop out for $100. And before NIL, we had to find all kind of ways for guys to have a legitimate job. Everything had to be legal. So I had a file over here of everything that we did written out every time, so they didn't get in trouble. But that's the only way we were able to take care of our kids. But it built the program, and all the booster clubs I went to, I would stand at the door. When I got to, I said, I'm going to be at the door, and it's going to be a season ticket application. Oh, wow. And you don't ever have to come to Stillwater. But that $100 for that season ticket with Reynolds Stadium, we'll sell that out pretty quickly. And now you have that seat for the regional. Yeah. And we're going to be in a lot of regionals. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know that at the time. Yeah, sure. But that's the plan, exactly what happened. The first regional, our first game, the stadium was full. There were 1,500 people between here and Gallagher that couldn't get in, including Allie and Arlene Williams. I was there. Were you? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Allie and Arlene showed up. I'd forgotten to give them a pass or even call them. My life was pretty busy at that time. Yes, absolutely. So we were trying to win a regional at Oral Roberts and get over there. And so, total nuts. Oral Roberts is who we patterned Allie P after, right? What? Their stadium at Oral Roberts is
kind of how we patterned LAP?
I like the elevated stadium because I built a basketball arena at Collinsville.
Yeah.
When I left Collinsville, every place I've gone, we built a facility.
Yeah.
But even good old New Mexico State, it only costs about $500,000, but at least they have a roof out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Collinsville, I like it because you needed to get the fans away from the players.
Yeah, right.
And you know, these normal things, you're sitting in it. I coached at Collinsville, and people are up your back.
It's amazing.
In your huddle. And,
it's amazing.
Yeah, and I said, I want them off the floor, and they've got, I want them to enter.
Yes.
And I want them to ever come on the floor for anything. And the floor will
enter from the top, come down. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, and just make sure I've got side buckets and things I can work with. And I built one at Collinsville and never got to play in it. That's the year I left for Yavapai.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just built one of the baseball field at Yavapai, I think, 2 years before I left there. Yeah. So that's a good way to go out the door. And I don't have any of them named after me because we're trying to sell the naming rights for, you know, a few bucks here or there. And we left that open. And I don't know what they named the one at Yavapai, but the city parks and recreation guy, it was gold mine for me, A.C. Williams. And I hope they did that. I hope they named it Williams Field.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No doubt.
I don't have time to go back to find out what it's called. Maybe it may be unnamed.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever the case may be. But the ride at Oklahoma State was an extraordinary ride. The issue became that when you make something really, really difficult, it's an extraordinary. If you make it look easy, you get taken for granted.
You do.
And we go to 7 consecutive World Series. And that's when it began to peel away.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, in that ride, I could go get an ad sold in a heartbeat. My entire outfield fence sign. We'd make us $15,000 plus a whole bunch of free meals for coaches and players. Sure. We had radio advertising. It'd sell out in an hour. We could sell as many minutes as you can get on there. And I don't know, we sold 8 or 9 ads for the post-game show. It was a 20-minute show. You think we had our own television show after each game. But Bill was so good.
He was.
Bill was extraordinary. So was Rex.
Yeah.
I mean, I come up there about half fired up sometimes, you know, and Bill would, if I got a little too close, just got close.
I think I heard every one of your post-game shows.
Okay. Well, you know how good he was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
He would settle me back down and we'd get made. But he understood the game so well. He knew the right questions.
He did.
Most media have no idea what to ask you.
Absolutely.
And so when they asked, my reputation was every time they asked me a question, you just have to ask him one.
Yeah.
And he'll give you a 12-minute appeal, and he's going to walk away and get a drink of water. And so that's when I met Dorado. Dorado, what about this? I said, where are you from? Norman transcript. That's one of the first deals at Oklahoma. I said, well, that's the first really intelligent question anybody's asked me.
That's awesome.
And he kind of looks at me. I said, Norman transcript. You know, is that weekly? I got a knife. Always had a knife a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I did with a smile. Is that a weekly or something?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, whatever. So I got a sense of humor, but it can be a little too crude sometimes to use. And at 12 to 18, we lived on oil lease. We moved off the farm because Pop says, Dad, why the hell are we moving? He said, because I'm a farmer, and a GD, SOB Republican just got elected. And I said, so? You can't make it? He said, nobody's ever made a living with one of them GD as a president. Not in his lifetime. Okay?
That's funny.
And I still laugh about it every day when I think about it. Because that was he and Grandpa's favorite line. And so we moved. We had it was a Bissett Oil Company. We had 8 wells. They were all power vacuum rod lined, 80 acres.
Wow.
Copperheads everywhere. Right up against the OkState County line.
Yeah.
It hadn't been mowed in a long time. It's oil field. 2 guys out of Tulsa come down and they're looking at how many barrels. And I think the thing produced about 100 barrels a month. Right?
Yeah.
100 barrels a month, yeah. Oil was $4.25 or something.
Yeah.
When it was good. But that was a lot of money.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that was a lot of money in 1952. So they come out there in their Cadillac and drink coffee every Tuesday morning or every couple of weeks. So I'm figuring out, and I'm 12 years old, I'm 12 years old, I'm 4'11", weigh 95 pounds. And it occurred to me that I saw this ad of one of these ads in a newspaper where the guy started lifting weights or started doing something in his Palooka or some cartoon. I said, well, if that makes you strong, I'll go. He said, Dad, I want to cut wood. And because we had trees all over the place, but they were all blackjack and scrub oak. He said, you can cut out every one of those. Don't touch anything else because we've got some pecan trees through there and things of that nature. If you cut down one, I'm going to bust your ass. So I took a 2-bit axe at age 12, went out and started cutting it down. I trimmed with it and just left the log lying, and then brother would come help me. We'd carry him to an old power takeoff, big old saw, and saw him up, and set a honest brick of wood 4x8 for $8, and the biscuits bought them. I mean, big money. But more importantly, the development in the upper body after I did that for a couple of years was pretty significant, and I was growing, just going into puberty. I didn't have hair until I was a freshman. I was wondering if I was ever going to be able to take a shower. So anyway, the late development punished me a lot, but it actually became a value to me later because I was a late developer. I grew an inch and a half when I went to college. That shell deal, I'm just 19 years old, I think. For my sophomore year in college. Be 20 in September or something like that. So I still.
By the way, all the poses I've seen, all these while you were coaching baseball. So this is like starstruck stuff for me right now. It's like you're coaching right now. This is really cool.
We are. So we're doing. We're coaching.
This is awesome.
So the aspect of the total program has pretty well been painted with our story here for 45 minutes. The thing that people miss is that there are so many of people were like I was. They're a good athlete. I was a quarterback intramurals. I still laugh about that. I was a catcher. And I was a point guard. Everything I'd ever done was as a leader. So and with those mentors, I began to see something other than myself. As a catcher, I'm dealing with the whole game. That's the reason all managers are catchers. I don't think I was a very good coach when I first started coaching. Although I played the positions, I knew how they were to be. I only knew how I approached that. What I didn't realize so much was, if I look into a dugout, I've got the guy that's loud. I've got that's looking for attention. Most of the time, that's a result of their insecurity, wanting to be heard or seeing the focus, like the 12-year-old Gary. You get the guy that's stoic. Who wants to be left alone, just wants to think about it and wants to prepare internally. Ventura was more of a quiet, stoic type preparer. He never got too high, too low. But there's about 5 ranges in there. There's kids that want to talk. There's kids that don't want to talk. There's kids that would like to have music playing. They need distractions. But the dugout, in general, what I've got to do as a coach to have the right dugout is I've got to get us on the same line. I always told them there's a golden thread that runs right through everyone's heart, and we're connected. Although you don't see it, it's there every day. So the more all of us come to the middle, you have to be less loud. If you don't, I'll have you in the bullpen. Okay. I'm going to teach you your baseball voice. I hate these dugouts today. These guys running out of the dugout, cheerleading, putting lines, high-fiving. That's to be on television. And it's wrong. And ESPN has created this. And travel teams have competed.
A lot of fake hustle.
A lot of deals, and everybody knows where the red light is, including every coach in America. Greedo was the worst of all. Because he just played. He was a LA guy. He and Cosner played for him.
He understood it.
They were buddies. And Augie was a manipulative and a great motivated man.
He was.
Oh, he's a great motivator. Wow.
When he talked, it came out right.
He had a great way to articulate a sense of urgency, and he just had really a great delivery, and he motivated people with great intensity. And he did a lot of things wrong. He's a charismatic, dynamic human being. So in coaching in the dugout area, we've got to modulate all of our extremes into a stream that ties us together, and that's not happening. Not happening anywhere. Except when you go to Detroit and walk around for 3 days with Sparky Anderson, that's a professional dugout. Those people, 1, respect the game. 2, respect each other. They move silently through. They don't rag on each other.
Yeah.
Men are competitive people. And if you let it go tender, the aggressive, insecure guys ragging on some guy, trying to cut him down, make himself feel better. It'll permeate the whole dugout.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell jokes. You're on a competitive line. What you're doing is, if you're a starter, you have your way to prepare, and I'm going to let it be a little loud or a little too silent. That's okay, but just keep squeezing. Come down from loudness, come up from being silent. We need you. So players need to be rewarded immediately and you've got to catch them doing something good.
Yes.
Get that? And then that's an old business book saying, but the reality is, when they're doing it right, and reinforce it. When they're doing it wrong, capture it, keep it, but don't approach them in company, because guys can't take any kind of instruction.
Gotcha.
None whatsoever. So Ventura in 5 days went from a separating option field hitter to a major league hitter.
Yeah.
12:30 with a manager throwing, with a mirror up so he could see himself, my hands on him so he could feel kinesthetically, and me talking to the mirror to him over his shoulder. Auditory, visual, kinesthetic. Combining all three. It's the only way you should ever teach, and singularly by the guy, because if there was two guys there, they're going to be judging each other all the time. You get people, they're environmentally programmed when they get here. So the parents, pastors, preachers have all programmed them. We've talked about this. So they only know 95% of who they are is the act they put forth to please the age. Exactly. All right. So you've got a whole bunch of room to move people. There are not many people like Ventura walk in with a level of maturity. Jim Swanky, who I had in junior college, was an All-American. Played in 77 or 70, and 75, and had a stretch fracture.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't go through the dugout worrying about it. I didn't even know about it. I saw him limping repeatedly, and I finally said, I can play with this, coach. It's okay. Or Greg Paster's my shortstop that I brought with me from Yavapai. We're getting ready to play for a national championship in 77, and he's got a hip pointer. He can't hardly breathe and walk. I said, well, we're going to change your stroke. You've been up here as a hitter. You've been walking off on it. I said, now you're going to come right down here and just take the bat out, and you're just going to pick it up and use your hands. First at bat, and first and second, he doubled down the right field line. He had hit a ball hard to the right side all year. To have people believe in you, to gain trust, they won't care what you have to say until they know you care for them. Sure. Trust can begin only when you give them ownership, voice, and choice. When they know they have a right to
voice and choice.
If you have ownership, voice, and choice, you're an executive.
Yeah.
And that guy is going to I'm going to take that child to a championship. He's not going to go on my saddle. He's got to build his own transportation. This is a transformation, an inner transformation of emotional and mental aspects, not physical. It had nothing to do with his talent. These thousands of times that we talk to ourselves every day has to become positive, because that's the programming mechanism that programs the subconscious. And the subconscious is a 24-hour receiving station that gets everything, never judges, doesn't erase anything. You say, well, I did that and I didn't remember it. Well, you didn't anchor the memory. The only thing that comes out of your memory is things you anchor emotionally, like giving birth to helping a cow and a baby. Mama have a baby cow when you're 10 years old or whatever. Those are emotions. So we have a lot of those memories. But even with that, memory's almost always wrong, because they're just pieces in there. And this is the truth, and people have to understand this. The saying, the first liar has no chance, is a saying about people telling stories. Yeah. That's true. Because if I take the story of taking 22 people to St. Louis, I can't cover that. I got 10 minutes to tell you that story maybe. Yeah. I can't cover it all, and I'm not sure everything that's in my memory is exactly true.
Exactly true, yeah.
So I go in there and find the bits and pieces, and then I reconstitute the story, and maybe we are all prone to improve it.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so the first liar has no chance. And that's the reason that's said all the time in conversation. So we know, and we take something that's sensitive to people. We take we know that most of the writings and educations came from highly educated scribes that could write on parchment. How many times had that story of Daniel in the lion's den, or Lot's wife turning to salt, or the Tower of Babel, how many times had that story been told?
Yeah.
Over 500 years. Do you think that was the original story?
Right.
If you do, you don't understand.
Absolutely. Right.
So it's gone from Aristotle to Cicero to generational people that have had to interpret that story, and their personal experience and their self as a person is what's being calculated.
Yeah.
Because we all fabricate the stories. We make ourselves look better and the world look better sometimes.
Yeah.
So given knowing that's how memory works, we've got to have a real pureness when we teach, because getting the athlete to understand that all energy comes out through the toes. Energy is collected, controlled, directed, and delivered, all from the ground. Newton's law. No other area it is.
Absolutely.
What I press in, I get out. Equal and opposite reaction. Well, that can be captured in the big toe, and it stays on the big toe. If I unhook it, I've got parasites losing energy every time I make a bad move.
Right.
It's a leaker. All right, somebody just punched a hole in the air, so I've lost that, and I'm trying to regain it. Pretty soon, the only thing I have, if I'm really fundamentally unsound, all I have left are the arms. I end up hitting this BP we see every day. It's from 36 feet. Everybody can hit it with their hands, because after I've seen it once, my automated station of timing through the experience of swinging a bat will take care of itself in order. And it's a driving range. So it's like going to a driving range to play golf, and the only thing you do is hit your driver. The good golfer goes out and hits 8 different shots.
Right.
So the baseball player in the major leagues in college has no agility within the swing. They don't know how to get the bat started, get it into the launching area. They don't know how to check the swing because they're still in their legs. Power should still be here. Now, we don't trigger that power. We collect it from the knees down, tibia, fibia, ulnar radius, elbows down, knees down. That's where all the talent is.
Yeah.
There's no talent above the knees, because these muscles are support muscles. They're not quick muscles. Same with the core, same with the back muscles. So we have an entire lecture for clinics, how to hit with your front muscles, how to feel the inner knees, how to feel the big toes, how to feel your chest, because the bat swung with your pecs. Well, in reality, the body swings the bat.
Yeah.
You don't swing the body.
Right.
The body swings the bat. So if the body's doing all of its work, it'll get sequential out of big toe, and there's a small muscle. Our glute is our biggest muscle in our body. We think we need to use our butt to hit. We don't. It needs to be relaxed. I'd walk up back in the beer and slap him in the butt with my hand. Yeah. I said, that's loose. That never tightens up. And if it does, I'm going to take this tongue depressor and stick it up your butt to get some oxygen to your brain.
That's funny.
That was a quote.
Yeah.
And I still do it. I walked into Wrigley. We had Dougie DeCenzo playing with the Rigs for Cubbies for a while.
Was that the year he didn't make an error the whole year?
Yeah. 163 chances or something.
Yeah.
And Ink's going to come up with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the Rangers. We've got Joe Macko, a Tulsa Oiler home run leader when I was a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
For the Tulsa Drillers, was the equipment manager for the Rangers a lot. So I probably made 30 trips down there, and you had to come about every 2 weeks to go work with Inky, because he had to have you tell him again, because he was not kinesthetic.
Yeah.
But he would work. He was the hardest working guy, and maybe the greatest leader and teammate I was ever around was Pete Incubay.
Wow.
He was extraordinary. So from the standpoint of you've got to get them something common, because everybody's different biometrically. The length of my arms and the width of my shoulders changes who I am. Long-bodied 6'5" guys like Bellinger, they got a long path to do.
We got a first baseman here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of issues, and people are expecting. If you're the turtle body like Colin, I want guys thick. I can't go big. I measure my power with that. All I have to do is listen to the sound of
Berrigan, Traber were like that.
Exactly. This guy that's wide here and short here, the frog, he's going to be a national leader. Bill Madlock, who I had in a golf classic once, 4-time National League leader. And the first thing I asked him, he said, because he's a really neat guy. I said, what do you think about when you're working on it? He said, all I think about is just getting behind the ball.
Yeah.
Well, he had big chest, short arms. That was true and accurate naturally. It wasn't something he had to learn. He just picked the kid ball bat up and he swung it, and the body swung the bat for him because he had this great strength, thickness through the chest, and again the pecs swing the bat. You need some humor at times to break it down because you're going to go back and you're going to say the same thing over again 8 or 10 times, and you're going to do it for a couple of weeks and you're going to do it for a month in order to get a motor skill to be automated. Let's say the minimum is 8 to 10 reps over 2 weeks to 3 weeks. A very good guy might automate it. Well, when you're intensely working with a Ventura on 5 days, he goes from an opposite field hitter. He's hitting balls over the light tower into the houses across Duck Street, and he's nonplussed.
Yeah.
And I go, Rob, you ever did that before? No, I've never done that before. I said, do you like it? He said, yeah, I like it, Coach.
Yeah.
And
Pretty fun.
Go home and talk to my wife that night. I said, I've just seen a really good player. I don't know if he's ever going to run and throw well enough to be a great major leaguer, because he didn't run and throw real well. But what he had was spatial intelligence.
Yeah, he did.
And he understood timing, and he became a great third baseman. He won a Gold Glove as a third baseman because he'd go do the work.
Yeah.
If you said, here's what you're going to have to do, go lay 8 balls out, he'd come out and do it every day. Because he trained probably as quickly, kinesthetic, he trained as quickly as, when he learned it, he felt it as soon as he owned it. It's like, God, it's easy for him.
Yeah.
You know, Incabil's over there working 45 minutes in a row and still doesn't have his right elbow in the right slot.
Yeah.
You know, and Pete, those are great men, great young men, because they in their own way took their own vehicle and trusted us enough to help guide them, and they could let us know, and I could give them back the game, and they had ownership, voice, and choice. They become the executive, the CEO, the owner of Incabil and Ventura. They owned it. Mike Day did, Randy Whistler did, Kevin Fowler did, 100 guys did. Then those guys are going to take you as a coach and win trophies, and they're going to do the work, get all the base hits, and they're going to hand you the trophy. This coaching is a really hard deal. Isn't it? Yeah. But you got to be able to do the teaching in it. It's not about scolding. It's not about being harsh, but it is about being demanding.
Yes.
Because you have to understand, son, I see in you, you're yet to discover something.
Yeah.
And nobody has told you can, so you fear failure. You cannot have fear of failure and be an athlete. Because to train, you have to fail. To go into a training program, you have to fail. If you have goals,
truly learn,
if you have goals and you're going to reach those goals, you're going to have to fail.
100%.
You're going to fall down the mountain. You're going to backslide, the Baptists say, because you're going to lose contact with it, or you get there. But when you become satisfied and gratified, you're done.
Yeah.
There is no ever stop. You can't stop and own it. It's like happiness. It happens in the moment.
Yeah.
And it either abides or moves higher. So everything is in the moment. Everything's a vibration in our life. Yeah. All around us. We don't feel it, we don't see it, but everything's a vibration. We're a moving energy, a mass. So we're either getting better or we're getting worse on a day-to-day basis. There's no stay.
100%.
Okay. Now, if you understand that, now I've given you the CEO of your company. You're the Robin Ventura company. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You're the executive.
Yeah.
You don't need me.
Now you have
I'm
the other
over here in
stuff,
the shadows.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to hear my name mentioned the rest of your life. Okay?
Wow.
Unless you do it intimately with your family. Because I don't want you to ever give away what you've done to somebody else because you think you want that respect or you have that respect.
Yeah.
But I want you to know I don't need it.
Yeah.
And if you give it to me, I'm going to tell you, take it back. Robbie Wine went through that because he was not real kinesthetic. He's really struggling. He's got great hands on the bat. We moved him from being a shortstop to a catcher.
Really? I didn't know that.
Okay. Never caught. I call Bobby and say, your kid's a little bit too stiff for shortstop, got a great arm, I'm going to put him behind the plate. You think that's all right? He said, you do what you want to with him, Coach. My meeting with you convinced me you know where you're going, what you want to do. Well, I told the dad at the time, you're off the page. This kid and I are the only ones who are going to communicate. Do not call me.
Yeah.
I told every parent that.
Wow.
When the kid's 18 and he comes here, he is his own communicator.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't you call me. If I call you, it'll be his academic standing or his social behavior.
Yeah.
All right? And don't expect it very often, because I'll take care of it. He's a man. He's got to answer to manhood. And I know in my mind I'm not going to give him the 10-minute lecture on transformation, ownership, voice, and choice, but I know that's what I'm going to do. So eventually, each time he fails, I'm going to pick him up and build him a step higher, and eventually he's going to say, yeah, I got it, coach.
Yeah.
And we'll go to the shadows. So at the end of the day, as you go through a season, you treat it the same way. You go from A all the way to Z, but Z better be by April 1. You take this ball club here.
Yeah.
We need to be away from it.
Yeah.
By April 1.
Yeah.
And the game's ownership goes to the players. If
Yeah.
you haven't developed
Absolutely.
leadership and ownership by then, I'm not going to coach you to a championship.
Yeah.
Coaching has nothing to do with that. Coaching has to do with developing emotional, mental readiness and preparation. It has to do with strategy. I make decisions that impact what I'm asking you to do in relationship to what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask you to do something, bunt in the 8th inning of a game and you can't bunt, then that's my problem, not yours.
Yeah, right.
I will not let you fail because I don't know what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah.
So Iflin, you're not a stolen base threat, so you go to work on the delayed steal. He leads by history of runners. He couldn't run out of sight in daytime. 16 delayed steals. Ventura had 8 same year.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if there's 24 delayed steals in a season with a college team. Freddie Ocasio and Todd Shelton, people said we never bunted. We had the highest bunting proficient execution of anybody in the country. We had more RBIs out of the bunting game than any team in the country. We also led the nation in scoring about 5 or 6 times. We had a full meal deal going together because I had good people working around me. They could work with me. They could take a lot of the peripheral stuff away, even though a lot of them were unpaid. So they go to the trainers and managers like Trent Marr or Doug Burris or Robbie Glass. A lot of guys transferred there. Marr became he's running the alley out here. That's he and his wife. Glass is made $1 million, a weight training guy. Dougie Burris went down and put together a business. Kevin and Corn Insurance went to Andrews, Tommy John guy. And I'm missing John Zumwalt and John Cope or Wade Robertson or whom in the hell, John Duvall or all these guys that work with me. So every peripheral guy I had was treated as a member of my family and staff. They were somewhere above players. You're not here to serve the players. You're here to do a job for me. They have nothing to say about you. You're going to travel. You're going to get meal money, but you do not. They're not your friend.
Yeah, right.
Because there's got to be a degree of separation between authority and players.
Sure.
They're here. You're here with me and my staff. I think because we empowered those kids, they were able to transform ownership, voice, and choice, and therefore almost everyone that served me has gone on to a really good career. They're good husbands, good fathers, good people, and they're making a lot of money.
No doubt.
And that's what I'm proud of. They can talk to you about how many wins you had or whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, the psychological income that you receive from seeing people go through transformation, and that's all we're doing with the player. There are some of them that choose not to transform.
Sure.
Some of them will take a part of it and they'll stop when they're good enough, or it gets some social equity on the campus. I think you can follow me there.
Yeah.
And those other things personally become more important. When they do, then they're going to stop. So, I don't know, we've covered it pretty darn good, I think, from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
I think at the end of it, the only thing that disappointed me is the fact that we were being taken for granted. We'd won so many baseball games and so many championships at Oklahoma. If you don't win a national title, what the hell's the matter with you? And nobody knows how the thing you know now, to a degree, how it was built from day one all the way up, and all the work we did with the private sector and all the money raising, the work that my young men did me on the field, my assistant coaches. We had a passion to work tireless. I mean, absolutely tireless. There was no day. We didn't have days off. Hell, I've coached 60 years. I've never had a job.
Yeah.
It's not a job.
Yeah. Right.
This is an opportunity to experience competition in the rawest form, and you're the guy leading it. You're riding the bus. You're the guy. So if you don't enjoy it and you think it's work, you need to get the hell out of this business in a hurry. Yeah. Because the game will destroy you if it's about you and your ego.
Yeah.
If somebody's got to pat you on the head and tell you you're okay, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people trying to, people said, how'd you get 16 championships in a row? I said, because they think they could come depose of the king, but what they don't realize, if you're going to depose of the king, you've got to cut his damn head off.
Yeah, you do.
You don't come in and throw a couple of grenades in his crown. That's not going to get it done. So to destroy somebody that high, there's got to be a total outcome, and you have to have the trust of the people that are going to give their lives for that opportunity. Well, I thought forever when I did a Hall of Fame, and really a neat deal, parades, all kind of stuff. Love it, did a heck of a job with it. On that dais was Floyd Bannister and Eddie Bain and Ben McDonald and Steve Arlen, 4 pitchers, and a couple of them we had faced. McDonald and Bannister, and Bain. I saw Bain pitching. So I did, I just sitting there going, why in the hell would you put a coach in a Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
That's how humble it makes you feel.
Yeah.
These people did it.
Yeah.
All I did was create a culture that allowed people like this
to do their job.
To do it.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that, but people have a tendency, when you're really good, to give you too much credit. Mm-hmm. When you do it good every day, they take it for granted.
They do.
And pretty soon they're lost interest in anything because they've already seen the epitome. Yep. So when you win the 16th championship and you walk away, there's not that much excitement.
Yeah.
And we lost the ability to continue to improve Reynolds Stadium, and we're losing the ability to host a regional.
Yeah.
And my whole predication on my entire time and career was the fact that we're going to build it. We're going to build a place that can host a regional. If we can, I don't want to be a part of that program because I know my chances of going to Omaha have been decreased by half.
Absolutely.
Or 75% maybe. And so I saw that happening because I couldn't raise $300,000 to finish the stadium, or I couldn't put a cantilever on it, which the stadium had a roof like Texas A&M, or I couldn't move the outfield fence to the hedge to add outfield seating. And we're selling every season ticket every year for 14 years. We're still losing money in baseball. Yeah.
Wow. Gary Ward, you are on the top of my Mount Rushmore as far as Oklahoma State goes. I grew up here. You're an absolute legend to me. It's over 5 decades for me as a diehard. Thank you so much. What a wonderful honor. And just beyond everything else, thank you so much for everything you did for Oklahoma State. It's been absolutely amazing. You're an absolute legend.
Well, the effort to do it and getting it done paid me back.
Yeah.